It is John Pollock and Wai Ting, and this is Review-A-Raw.
It still is.
It still is
Yes.
Review-A-Raw.
Yes, it is.
It's wonderful to finally see you.
Oh, man.
Skype has just not been the same,
I've been blind for the past 4 weeks.
but now you can see Wai.
Yeah.
What a wonderful sight it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel back at
I look
home?
the same.
You do.
Right?
You do. The hair looks very nice.
Thank you.
Very dapper look.
Same with yours.
Yes. You didn't do anything wild looks-wise while you were gone.
I did, and then I changed back right
Oh,
now.
in
so
time. Well, it was
it
long
grew back
enough.
out. Yeah.
Well, good for you.
All right.
We've got quite the show to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready to have a break from wrestling after the last couple of days. I'm ready to have a break from everything after the last
I
couple
feel
of
like
days.
you could have said that at any point in the past 10 years. I mean, I think you probably... This is not that unusual for you, okay? A weekend like this.
No. This weekend was crazy between MMA and pro wrestling. All of it, and so much of it here in the city. Like, I'm just completely...
Did you...
I do not want to watch Survivor Series 2004 this week. I'll tell you that.
No, I don't really want to either. But that's because it wasn't that great of a show. But
Anyway.
Yeah.
We have lots to discuss on the show, though.
Mm-hmm.
We are primarily focusing on Raw from Monday night, the final night in town for the WWE as they concluded this weekend with Raw,
yeah.
which you were offered tickets to, and you said, nah, I'm going to watch it. And
Well,
I went, and this, you know what? You tried this theory of one of us going and you staying back.
Yeah.
I could get very used to just jotting down,
Yeah,
like, these are the most simplistic notes I've ever taken.
really is the easiest job.
I was like, man, why have I been taking the notes all these years? You have got it easy.
I've got it really easy here.
Oh,
right?
man. I loved
Yeah.
it.
But
I wrote down one line for the main event, and
all
it was
you-
like, great.
all you really need. But I did not simply turn down tickets, okay? I turned them down because I thought I couldn't go because I had to do this show. So how was I...
Wait,
able
I
to-
asked you, I said, do you want to go to Raw? And you were
Yeah.
like, not really.
And I said, not really, because how am I going to watch Raw, get back here, and do this show at the same time?
Well, I did it, Wai.
You did it.
But I wouldn't
So-
have been able to do it as easy if you weren't back here.
That's right. So anyway, I'm glad it worked out.
So this will be fun because I can provide the live perspective and you
Should
following
we-
along
I feel
at
like
home.
we should switch seats.
I thought about that because it's going to be weird. I'm going to default into rundown mode. But
you should
I'm not
wear
gonna be
my
doing-
clothes, and we should change clothes, actually.
Maybe I can wear your TJ Perkins glasses.
Yeah, okay, why not? Go for it.
Sure. Let's do this. This is a great.
Now I can't really
This is
see my
this
notes.
is going to screw up my eyesight here.
Let's go
Man,
for it.
you know
Why
what?
not?
I all of a sudden I feel tired. I'm not upset about anything. I just think, hey, it was just a wrestling show. Let's not get too out of whack about things here. And yeah,
Who does he look like?
I
who
think
who does he look like right now?
Harry Potter maybe. Welcome to the new era of Review-A-Raw. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do damage to my eyesight. I'm very paranoid here.
Oh, I wish.
Well, why don't I run through the dark matches first?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
These were the Superstars tapings ahead of time. Sin Cara opened and closed the show
Pretty
on
much,
Monday. He defeated Jinder Mahal with a Swanton bomb. This went about 5 minutes. And then Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. You missed it, Wai. The big crescendo to this program. They went 9 minutes and 8 seconds.
Wow. Did you time all the matches? Because I did not.
I sat down, and we were in a media section, and the guy next to me had a stopwatch on his phone running.
Wow.
Yes.
Who was the guy next to you?
I don't know. I probably, if I had asked who it was, I'm sure I would have known who it was. But
So you were peeking over at the stop.
well, he stopped timing them after Superstars, so I only followed along at this point. But I was like, he was taking notes. He had a stopwatch. I'm like, man, this could be really easy.
Yeah.
This was like,
It's like you're cheating for a test.
I might just sit back and enjoy this show. Imagine that. So they went 9 minutes here, and Bo Dallas won with the roll of the dice. This was after Curtis Axel did the neck snap of Mr. Perfect. Bo kicked out of a perfect plex, and then Curtis Axel went for the perfect superplex. Like the
Oh.
perfect plex off the top, but
Cool.
Bo blocked it. And then Bo Dallas won, and they were going right to the end. This was like 7:57 p.m. They ended the match. Then they had to get Cole and Saxton out there, and then we started Raw at the top of the hour. And in between matches, they were already chanting for Goldberg very loudly, so it was no surprise the kind of reaction he was going to get. And I'm just going to sit back away and you be our tour guide now through Raw.
Well, Goldberg was exactly the person who started off Raw right at 8 o'clock. Goldberg chants filled the arena, and I'm sure you were among them. I think I even heard you, John.
You did
chanting
not.
Goldberg, Goldberg. Goldberg comes out, thanks the Toronto fans for the chance for him to be Goldberg again. And he specifically thanks his wife and his son for giving him the desire to be a superhero again. Wife and son in person. You've now seen them twice.
I saw the back of their heads. We
back.
were behind them in that section, facing the ring.
How did you feel about Goldberg's son at Survivor Series coming into the ring without a shirt?
I didn't understand why he didn't have a shirt on.
I did not.
I didn't even catch how he lost the shirt. It was a little weird.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him too, because I mean, you know what? Like this Goldberg thing is working. This kind of hardworking father who's trying to show off for his son, I guess, is something that's really working. But if I'm the kid, I'm like, Dad, just leave me alone. Like, stop talking about me.
Well,
why
maybe he
why
took
is
the
my
shirt off himself. Maybe he was.
I guess.
I don't know what he was doing.
I don't know. But the kid looked embarrassed, and I would hate to be in that position.
I would feel very embarrassed if I was that age and I was, on television. I mean, he's been focused throughout this whole return
God, I know.
multiple times.
Yeah.
And I mean, how much traveling has this kid been doing? Like, I'd be like, Dad, I get it. Can get
He's
the
been in
network.
Toronto.
Can watch it.
Yeah. All right. So thanks his wife and son.
This was an enormous reaction he received.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just huge.
Goldberg says he came and he conquered the beast, but now things have to come to an end. And the crowd, you yourself included, started to boo vociferously. But Goldberg says he ran into Stephanie backstage after the match, and Steph said, Goldberg, you're right when you said you had one more spear, one more jackhammer, but do you have one more title run left in you? And this audience erupted, John. At this point, there's a very small but vocal "You screwed Brett" chant.
Oh, that made its way on. Yeah,
you heard that?
Yep. It was a small amount of people, but you could hear it.
It was very small, and really the only time throughout this entire run you heard anything like that. So it was only notable because you could tell Goldberg himself heard it to the point where he even glanced back and kind of like, acknowledged it a little bit before just moving on. Goldberg says the path to the title shot is, of course, through the Royal Rumble, and at the Royal Rumble, everyone is next. So it looks like Goldberg has entered the first one to enter into this year's Royal Rumble, next year's Royal Rumble, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, 2 months away, they announced this. I think you won't see Goldberg until the new year. I thought this was a great way to wrap things up with Goldberg for at least this year. And, yeah, great reaction, I thought. I would imagine Goldberg was probably imagining he would have gotten that chant because he, on his own, when I interviewed him, brought that up about, being in Canada and Bret Hart. Like, he is very aware of that. And the guy is so apologetic in interviews about what happened with Bret. I'm sure he was bracing for that. And it was very small in the arena. I'm surprised it even got picked up on TV.
Very small, and I would say most of the audience in Toronto probably doesn't feel like chanting that. I don't think Toronto... I think most wrestling fans at this point understand that it was a total accident and nobody really holds the guy to blame.
It was funny. It was like Braden was telling me at Survivor Series, like there were people actually like policing people on chants. Like some guys tried to start a CM Punk chant and a guy just got up and told them to shut the F up and shut it down.
Always ahead of the curve, Toronto. We're on to the anti-chanting chants now.
The anti-chanting chants?
The anti-chants, yes.
Okay.
I find Goldberg to be a tremendous storyteller who's able to really lead this audience through whatever narrative he's trying to sell. I love his delivery and trying to tell cut a promo like he did.
Another great promo from Bill Goldberg. Like, this was the perfect promo for what it needed, and now you've got a name in the Royal Rumble. I anticipate Brock Lesnar will be in the Rumble as well.
Interesting. All right, up next we got New Day versus Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles. The New Day are
Cesaro.
Cesaro, as they call it. The New Day come out first. Xavier says last night, despite being eliminated early, they led their team to victory in the tag team elimination match. They say that they've held their current set of titles longer than anybody in the WWE, but clarifies that there used to be an older set of titles that were held by a team known as Demolition.
Which got a good reaction.
For 478 days, and Kofi reminds us that in 23 days, that record will be demolished, which got boos.
Yes, it did, and they acknowledged them.
I'm sure you groaned at that yourself. You're at a much higher level of punning, aren't you?
Yeah, well, when he went for the D, I actually thought he was going to say deleted, but went for the more obvious, demolished.
I hope Demolition comes back for an appearance.
They won't be.
Why?
I believe one, if not both of them, are part of that lawsuit against the WWE.
Okay, never mind.
So that probably is not going to happen.
Yeah. So all the more reason for them to break that streak, isn't it?
Oh, I think it will be broken.
Yeah.
It's probably a safe assumption. But there is definitely value in having that Monday before the record is broken, having a big title defense in 3 weeks.
I mean, I think we've seen that they'll probably do a title defense every week up until that point.
Who would you have on that final Monday? Like, you're going to beat Anderson and Gallows next week. You have Cesaro and Sheamus tonight. That's it.
Maybe you do...
Unless there's a team from the past or you do something special.
You could redo some of these teams. I think like a team... Anyway, let's get to the match. Kofi is in the ring with Cesaro. These two are actually a lot of fun to watch together because they're two of the more agile people on the roster at their weight class. So they were doing a lot of really cool moves, exchanging monkey flips where each of them landed on their feet together. At one point, Kofi moves out of the way as I was about to say Sheamus. Sheamus tackles his partner Cesaro in the corner by accident. Sheamus gets a white noise for a 2 count. Kofi dives off with the crossbody, but Cesaro very impressively catches him with a standing, flipping tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, which looked awesome. SOS for a 2 count. The Trouble in Paradise is countered into a Cesaro swing, and at this point, the crowd, much like every other show this weekend, has anytime there's a time to count, they were counting 10 for every rotation.
Do you think that continues beyond Toronto?
I don't think so. I think
it was much less tonight. It was certainly evident tonight, but nowhere like Sunday and Saturday.
I think it might continue in NXT, but I don't necessarily see it continuing next time Cesaro does a Cesaro swing, for instance. So Cesaro applies a sharpshooter for a big reaction. Big E tries to help, but Sheamus hits a bro kick to him on the outside. At this point, Kofi is visibly tapping to the sharpshooter, but Xavier Woods jumps up onto the apron for the distraction. Kofi gets out, hits a small package onto Cesaro, and New Day wins by cheating.
Cesaro, I mean, what a fool this guy was. Kofi's tapping, and he instantly let go of it because the referee's back was turned. I mean, wouldn't you just hold on to that and yell at the referee?
He's not vicious, though. You know, he feels the tap and he lets go.
Guy's beaten. Big E's been laid out with a bro kick. Just yell at the referee. Turn around. He's tapping. Instead, he let go, and boom, small package.
So the New Day reign continues for another week, and I feel like we're sensing a bit of a heel turn from the New Day here, at least compared to this pairing in Cesaro versus Sheamus.
Do you think that's a wise move for New Day?
I mean,
because I definitely see that kind of a hint.
I don't see it happening next week when they're going up against Gallows and Anderson. However, I feel like, to me, if I were to get the titles off of them, the next best team to me is Cesaro and Sheamus. And against those two, I think they have to play the heels in that team.
Yeah, possibly. Or they feud with Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, of which they'll be heels too.
Yeah. So the match was good. I really liked catching that crossbody into the tilt-a-whirl. That was a really impressive spot. Sheamus is like a really good mid-card heel to watch live, and I think he's more a victim of a guy that was just over-pushed at a level no one wanted to see him at, and there was just the natural backlash to it. But in this role, like, this is a fine role for him.
It's a great role for him. I think it's to the point now where I think he's going to be entertaining enough where they're essentially a babyface team, I think. You know, they're the odd couple who fights, but at the same time, you find him a lot more likable now than what he was doing in the past, which was really essentially nothing. So I'm happy for him. We go to Chris Jericho. He's in the back. Charlie Caruso interviews him, and Jericho looks very visibly upset. He says, last night, Team Raw fell apart. when the list of Jericho was used as a weapon. And he teases that tonight in the highlight reel, he's going to name exactly who is to blame. Enzo.
Wait a minute. You forgot what he referred to Charlie as. He called her Charles.
Oh, yes. Charles.
That was a very funny line.
Yeah. It's a fine name for a girl. Charles.
Charles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not? All right. Enzo is outside of his locker room. And maybe this was your highlight of the night. You guys saw all this, right?
Yes, we did see all of this.
So Enzo is standing outside of his locker room, and the camera zooms out to reveal that he's naked. His privates are pixelated, and his hair is wet. And we're to assume that Big Cass is playing a joke on him, locking him out of his locker room. Like, aren't the showers attached to the locker room?
You would think that they would be inside. I don't know how the exact construction of the Air Canada Center.
Okay. It'd be really inconvenient to have to walk through the public hallway
in a
after
towel.
your shower. Anyway, he didn't have a towel.
Yeah, why wouldn't you go to shower with a towel?
He maybe just does the quick dart, between 1 and 2, and maybe he just anyway. Maybe he forgot it. Let's just assume that. Enzo
we could really break down this, go back, like Memento of how Enzo goes, how he gets to this point.
Yeah. So he's walking around naked. He runs into the Shining Stars, runs into Titus. They all make jokes. And then he ultimately runs into Lana, who is trying really hard not to look down. And Enzo says, "How you doing?" And then Rusev comes in, asks Enzo, "Why are you naked in front of my wife?" And this is when Big Cass runs in. Rusev tells Enzo to put some clothes on, and I'm going to crush you in the ring. So this is why you should be interested in their professional wrestling match.
Rusev was very offended by this nude figure
In front of his wife. Yeah. That's somewhat offensive. I'd be offended. This is no way to act in a public place.
Well, I guess so. Can the characters, can they actually see, or can they also, is the digitization also there?
I imagine they were not seeing digitization in person.
I'm just trying to make sense of all this way.
Seth and Mick are backstage. They congratulate Team Raw for winning 3 of the 5 matches last night at the pay-per-view.
So did they win? Did they win Survivor Series because of that?
Yeah, technically, I guess.
Because we're going to see SmackDown celebrate that they won the big match.
They won the big matches, right?
This angered me so much, and no one else seemed to care about this.
In the end, were you entertained by the show? That's all that mattered, wasn't it?
This whole thing was built up on this brand versus brand, and as much as we lamented the fact that there were no stakes attached, at the very least, it was bragging rights.
Okay, fine.
And now, bragging rights, both sides get them. What was at stake here?
Yeah, but
we don't even have a definitive winner.
Yeah, but it's not about that. The NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, they have all-star games, and you don't hear American League officials, if such a thing exists, touting that they won the game. Like, who cares?
They play for home field advantage in the playoffs for the World Series.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, they have something to play with, and there is a winner at the All-Star game.
Yeah, okay.
The American League and the National League don't end the game in July with one side saying, well, we got more runs, but the other said, well, we still had more hits, so we can both claim different versions of winning this. There is one winner.
So maybe the winner of the next Survivor Series brand versus brand show could have the main event?
I'm just going to say the next time they do this, I think there will be even less interest in a Raw versus SmackDown feud, because we'll look back at last year when who won? It's debatable.
Doesn't matter.
It didn't. Great.
So Steph and Mick are backstage. Mick asked Stephanie if she was serious when she said that she was going to fire anybody who didn't win at Survivor Series. And Steph admits, nah, I was just joking. So at least they addressed it. I don't even remember her saying it.
The Undertaker would have said the same thing. I was just kidding last week, guys. You're all good.
Sami Zayn appears. Mick says, because, Sami, you didn't bring the IC title to Raw, there are ramifications and there are punishments. So he decides to punish Sami by putting him in a match with Braun Strowman.
Should have said, I thought that finish you guys booked was enough punishment on Sunday.
Oh, there's a lot worse. And he was about to experience it. Steph says, Mick, that was awesome. But Mick does not look happy about having to do something like this. So we get the Cruiserweights up next.
One other thing on Mick Foley. ICW did their huge Fear and Loathing show over at the in Glasgow on Sunday, which is where Raw and SmackDown just were on the European tour. And Mick Foley was originally booked for that show, to the point that when he was named the GM, he even wrote about the fact that he wants to keep that date, and he insisted on it when he took the GM spot. He has to do the Fear and Loathing show. But as we got closer with the Survivor Series and everything, they had to pull Mick Foley because he was needed for the Survivor Series, and they sent Finn Balor as a replacement. So Mick Foley was pulled from that show for 3 pre-tapes at the Survivor Series.
Yeah. I mean, he was still needed. You can't have a brand versus brand without the commissioner.
You do have another person in Stephanie there.
Yeah, but this is like a major event concerning their.
But he wasn't doing anything major on the show.
Just his presence, I think, was enough. Daniel Bryan didn't.
Stephanie's presence. She had no presence on the show.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. I mean, but I feel like Mick is more important than Stephanie to be there. Mick
Is she?
was more involved? Yeah,
You think so?
I'd say so. Anyway, Finn Balor is a much better option, much better choice for ICW. And if I was the WWE, here's the other thing. They probably didn't even know what they needed Mick Foley for up until the day of.
Yeah.
So just
That's
having him
true.
around was good. Up next, we got the Cruiserweights. Cedric Alexander versus Arya Daivari. Daivari grabs the mic, says...
Oh, you guys did see. I didn't know if this was just for the house to get the heel response, but it did air.
He says he's always heard Canada was better than the U.S. But now that he's here, he realizes that Canadians are no different from Americans. And this crowd just booed because I guess...
Where did he hear this rumor about Canada being better than the U.S.? Is that a headline in a newspaper somewhere? The Toronto Star. We are still better.
Maybe it's international. It's our reputation, I guess.
Yes.
Don't you hear the thing where like
Maybe he goes to the embassy every now and then. He hears what his Canadians.
Don't you know like anytime like a Canadian travels overseas, they make sure to put like a Canadian flag patch
on their backpack.
So that their people traveling don't assume that they're American.
Oh, I didn't know it was necessarily to distance yourself from your
What else would
American
it be?
neighbors.
What else would it be?
Well,
I think it's silly.
National pride.
I think it's I don't think it's that at all.
What flag did you put on your backpack when you traveled recently?
I don't think people would assume I'm anything. They just assume I was Asian.
Yeah.
So I guess calling a Canadian an American is about one of the worst things you could say to a Canadian because this crowd just booed the shit out of Arya Daivari. Cole makes mention of Cedric losing 22 pounds to make the CWC Cruiserweight limit. Crowd is quite quiet here. There are some faint "Let's go Cedric" chants. Alexander gets a springboard dive from the apron, or goes for a springboard dive from the apron, but Daivari knocks him down and caused a pretty bad-looking landing. Daivari delivers a short arm lariat for a 2 count, and then Cedric just applies the lumbar check for the quick win. So
short and crickets.
Really just kind of another filler match.
This was such a different crowd than especially Saturday, but Sunday as well. Like, I don't know if this was necessarily a lot of different people from the weekend or just a tired crowd, but I mean, it's a 3-hour Raw.
I certainly think there are a lot of hardcore fans in this crowd, but if you're just watching the Cruiserweights on Raw, they're not exactly giving you a ton of reason to cheer for them. I mean, the matches aren't even that great.
There's nothing to get into for this was so short. And, I'm not even going to say a tired crowd because when there were big stars on there, Goldberg, Owens, Jericho, Rollins, they were super into them.
Yeah.
So,
there's no star power, no real identity with any of the characters.
You know who the stars of the Cruiserweight division are? This team, watching them live as they tape these ropes up in between.
That's right.
My God, are they quick.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, they got to pull all of it off, and you've got like this soccer ball of purple tape that they've got to just toss away. And man, are they quick! And it's like there have to be 12 people here on the ring crew duty to get these ropes. And I'm watching it live. You're like, this is the stupidest thing. This is the defining factor of the Cruiserweight division: our rope color.
Yeah. Yeah.
We taped them.
Yeah. So, 205 Live. That happens in about 8 days. The highlight reel is up next with Chris Jericho in a segment that he called the autopsy of the worst loss in Raw history last night. He says last night was a tragedy and people want answers. Kevin Owens comes in and he says he knows what Jericho is about to say and he's going to show everybody some evidence on the Jeritron 5000. Jericho corrects him, says it's the Jeritron 6500. Owens wants to know when he got an upgrade. And Jericho says, you were there when I upgraded it. So,
see how many little pieces of information you get when you're noting everything?
Yeah, sure. A fun bit of improv between these two. Owens shows off.
Sorry, did you see their segment on the kickoff show at the Survivor Series with Tom Phillips? This was outstanding. It was just 5 minutes of this.
What happened?
They were, well, I won't do the whole segment. It completely was just left to them to play off each other. And it started off with Tom talking about Kevin Owens' new shirt and said, it's predominantly blue. What is that supposed to mean, Kevin? He's like, Tom, you idiot. These are the colors of the Toronto Blue Jays. I want to make some money here in Toronto.
Wow.
And they just continued. He brought in Jericho, and they just went for 5 minutes. Great segment.
Kevin Owens shows off a still of Chris Jericho about to be hit with the Styles Clash last night in their match. And then a still of Kevin using the list to attack Styles, saving Chris Jericho. But Chris Jericho is upset that Owens used this list like any other foreign object. And he was complaining about how his deepest and darkest secrets were being strewn across the ring.
Including the biggest secret of all. As many people saw on the WWE Snapchat where they got a shot of the list, number 13, Dan the Mouth Lavransky.
Wow.
Did you not see this?
I did not see
Dan,
that.
you can see it on our Instagram.
He's actually on the list.
He legitimately put Dan Lavransky on the list.
Number 13? That high up?
I believe it was 13, yes.
I mean, what does that mean? Does he just start a new list every few weeks?
I mean, the interview occurred a couple weeks back. Maybe he made it in to 13. I'm pretty sure it was 13, but the name is definitely there. I mean, it's even the mouth in quotations.
That is
so go to our Instagram account, Law Radio, to check that out.
Wow, I'm sorry, Dan. I'm very sorry. That's upsetting.
I just love the fact that he was doing that interview with me and the list was close by, that he actually jotted it down afterwards.
It does contain his deepest.
That's a level of detail to get that gimmick over. That's why these things are successful, because of details like that.
So Owens says, "Are you serious? Who cares?" And then Jericho had the best look on his face, like he just insulted his dog. And this crowd gave a huge reaction as well. Owens says he sacrificed himself for Jericho last night, getting himself disqualified by using the list. And Owens says instead of capitalizing on his save, Jericho cared so much about the stupid list that he fell right into an RKO. And Owens says Jericho getting hit by the RKO was a waste of his sacrifice and a waste of their friendship.
This crowd was so sad at this falling apart in front of their eyes.
I was glued. This was soap opera at its best.
This was so great because in my head, I thought of where this was going. And you had the sense of where it was going, and it made it so much greater.
Jericho says if that's how you feel, maybe we don't have much of a friendship to begin with, which elicited oohs and ahs. And Jericho says week after week, I'm hit by RKOs, pedigrees, and Kevin, you're never there. Jericho says he's finished with this conversation, and he's finished with you, Kevin Owens. Kevin says he's going to tell Jericho whose fault it is. And they both look at each other. They pause. And both in unison say, Roman Reigns. And this crowd erupts.
Oh, and they hugged. This was the best moment of Raw.
This is up there. Was it the best moment of the weekend?
The best moment of the weekend. I wouldn't say the best.
It's up there, but it's up there, right?
This was really good.
This was amazing because everybody knows this breakup is coming. Nobody really wants it to happen, but the tease is so good because these two are just such great performers.
Oh, this was just, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
You teased everything you needed to do, and then you reeled them right back in.
Yeah.
This could not have been put together better.
So they both go on to just talk shit about Roman and Seth.
Their conditioned hair.
Talking about laying there in the corner in the match last night, dripping conditioner, not helping out. Seth Rollins comes in. Cole reminds us that we're in Bizarro Land last night as, Rollins didn't necessarily get booed, but he didn't necessarily get a great babyface reaction coming in here. Seth comes out and says he was promised a title match for joining Team Raw, and he wants to cash in tonight with a one-on-one match with Kevin Owens for the Universal title. Jericho calls Seth a stupid idiot, gets a big reaction for that. Owens says no. Rollins says he's going to have to run through both of them to do it, and he starts attacking them both. Roman Reigns comes in for the save. Crowd boos. And then Foley comes in, says, Rollins, you're right. And he makes the match with Kevin Owens for tonight. And he actually pauses before he says WWE Universal title. And Owens calls him out for forgetting the name of the belt. And then no DQ match tonight. Jericho and Reigns banned from ringside.
And this was the only involvement of Roman Reigns on the show.
Yeah.
This was it.
Right.
The other thing, it was amazing to watch just Seth Rollins live tonight. I mean, we'll get to the match. I mean, nothing to critique there. Mm-hmm. His promos, though, I feel he almost needs to be deprogrammed because he feels he's so in that WWE speak. Like, it feels such manufactured words. He doesn't have a voice. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his own voice. And that's been the hardest transition from the heel to babyface character. I think those promos were much better suited when he was the heel figure. And in this babyface turn, to me, he still sounds like the same guy. And it's just doesn't sound like a human being, much like an Owens or a Jericho or a Goldberg on this show. Yeah. Guys who have their own voice. And that, to me, is the one thing that I think Rollins, there's a disconnect with the audience with.
He needs to redesign and rebuild his promo style.
There you go. That alone, that catchphrase, needs an overhaul.
Lana is in the ring, and she introduces Rusev. Enzo and Cass come out. Enzo says, I didn't really get this, but Lana, I know you're Russian, but you could have at least taken me out to dinner first, because only fools Russian.
They're not all going to be home runs.
He also says, we could have a Toronto toast over a cup of Timmy Hortons.
Yeah, once you have the second Tim Hortons reference of the weekend, these back-to-back nights are tough for an Enzo promo that is city-specific.
I also get that, I think Toronto in general is quite proud of Drake, but when you're dropping Drake references multiple times in the same segment, I don't know. It's a little trying.
Has Tim Hortons ever been called Timmy Hortons?
It's either Timmy's or Tim Hortons. You don't say
or even Tim's, but Timmy Hortons together, that has never been uttered before Enzo crossed the border.
Has Toronto's ever been uttered by any Torontonian?
And it won't ever again.
All right. Enzo says if Lana really wanted to see him naked, she could have just hacked into his phone like anybody else from her country.
Which was the second political reference we got in 2 days, because on the panel, of course, it was Jerry Lawler who stated when Miz and Maurice came out, he said that the panel is acting like the cast of Hamilton booing a great man, comparing the Miz to Mike Pence.
Oh.
So okay. Subtle political references worked in.
Cass says he's seen Rusev without his pants on, and there's only one word to describe it. Immediately, Rusev...
He might qualify then for TRT or something.
Is that one of the qualifications?
Well, if he's having issues. I mean, low testosterone.
Ask John Jones or Anderson Silva. Immediately, Rusev lands a big savate kick to Enzo and then slowly applies the accolade while looking straight at Cass, and Enzo quickly taps out in what was essentially a squash match to set up a would-be Rusev versus Cass match.
That's what I took from this, yeah. Enzo can be the fall guy in these. I mean, that guy's just cutting promos. I don't think any of these things really hurt him, and he can build to the match with Cass.
Between this and Goldberg and Lesnar last night, I think maybe we can see a bit of a more willingness to do squash matches with a lot of your established talents. I mean, obviously, last night being a bigger example of it, but even something like Rusev beating Enzo in seconds, I think if you're gonna have the guy lose, might as well make the most effective use out of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, there's guys on the roster that should be protected and guys who can be put in those positions to make the stars shine.
Rusev up on the ramp starts yelling at Enzo as we go to commercial break. Why don't you take off your clothes now? The Golden Truth take on Gallows and Anderson here, with the winner getting a title shot against the New Day next week. Early on, it's all Gallows beating on R-Truth, cutting him off from Goldust. Finally, Goldust gets the hot tag, and I think Goldust really is, kind of made it a bit of a signature of his latter career doing these hot tags, because he's able to work incredibly fast for his age. And not to say the crowd really got into this one, but he was a standout part of it for me. He hits a twisting crossbody onto Gallows and Anderson, and then he goes up top again, but gets knocked down. Magic Killer onto Goldust gives Gallows and Anderson the win.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt of what the outcome of this one would be. I mean, they're trying to get more serious with Anderson and Gallows, but it's still a struggle, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. We got a quick vignette on WrestleMania ticket sales in Orlando this week.
There were some excited fans in this video. My God.
I would love for them to interview some scalpers.
You know what?
That'd be great.
I saw the greatest interaction between an Air Canada Center security guy and a scalper as I was in the will call area, and the security guy is just politely saying, I don't have any problem with you reselling tickets, but you're going to have to do it outside. You just can't do it in here. He was just the nicest guy. It's like, I understand you have a business to uphold here, and
it's technically not illegal what he's doing.
Overselling is,
That's illegal?
Reselling.
What about StubHub?
Well, it's not. I'm not going to get into the legalities because
Kijiji and Craigslist.
Well, I mean, that is the surface value. So if you're taking a ticket and selling,
don't they sell for higher than face value on StubHub?
Why don't you go scalp some tickets and then get back to us?
I used to buy my tickets from scalpers.
I bought plenty of tickets from scalpers.
I would buy them under value. Like I would just skip Velocity or something, and I'd get them cheaper because they just wanted to leave. So tip for all of you out there.
Well, maybe a scalper's listening to the show and they can educate us on the technicalities and how the business is doing these days.
Wouldn't that be a great wrestling character? A scalper.
Scalps tickets.
He
can be the guy behind when Charlotte gets a front row ticket at SmackDown. You have a logical explanation.
Right.
How did Goldberg get these tickets for his kid and wife for all these shows?
And he's already got a finishing move.
Yeah. The what?
Some type of scalping.
The price
move.
point.
The price. Okay. Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman. Sami makes his entrance, and the crowd is singing along. He had a great reaction at Survivor Series, and I assume at Raw tonight as well for his entrance, right?
Sorry, who was that?
Sami Zayn.
It was okay. Yeah. When the match started, I feel with an audience, they knew what was happening here. There was no, there was going to be no rallying behind Sami Zayn in this match, and I think the crowd knew exactly what Zayn was here to do, and that was sell his ass off for Braun Strowman and make him look like a monster, which he did.
The crowd is singing along to Sami's theme, but in comes Braun Strowman attacking Zayn from behind. And Braun, it was just all Braun Strowman throwing Zayn into the barricade. Match finally begins in ring, and Zayn just played a rag doll for Braun this entire time. There's a very noticeable "please don't kill him" chant from this audience. Yep. Zayn gets a brief comeback, and the crowd is 10-10-10ing all his punches. And didn't necessarily help this guy's desperation. Anyway. Braun knocks him back down with a big clothesline, and their referee the whole time is basically teasing a TKO stoppage, telling Braun to back off as he checks on Zayn. Finally, Braun puts Zayn into the Tree of Woe, and then at this point, Mick Foley comes in, actually stops the match, says Zayn can't defend himself, and the match is over.
It's the Tree of Stro.
Wow. Okay, not bad. It's a good creative way, I think, to get Braun to get his heat back. And, much like the...
I don't think he really lost much at the Survivor Series. I mean, not the best way to get rid of him, but hardly the worst. Not like Nia Jax.
Hardly the worst, and I think the James Ellsworth interaction was really great, made for a great moment. But however, you're trying to heat this guy up as your next big monster, and to have him kind of suffer any type of thing against James Ellsworth, I think something like this was necessary. And it kind of goes to the point of them sacrificing guys like an Enzo or a Sami Zayn in a major way. And you know, making, unfortunately, guys like Zayn look really bad, but at the same time, making a guy like Braun Strowman look really strong.
Yeah, I mean, you can debate Sammy's placement on this show, but he was outstanding here. I thought, selling for Braun.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of, you know, coming out of this weekend, I was hoping for more for Sami Zayn. I was hoping coming out of that IC match that he would actually have the title, or at least be in the process of a move to SmackDown, something to refresh his character. But I guess
not.
He got this instead. There's a Melina teaser, and then we get Charlotte and Dana in the ring. Charlotte brings up how she calls herself the Wayne Gretzky of the WWE, and then says actually she's even better than Wayne Gretzky. Do we still like? Is there a more popular Canadian figure than Wayne Gretzky?
I think there's numerous.
Who? Sidney Crosby.
That could have been a more updated reference.
I think so too.
But she's got to save that one for when they're at
Boston.
Well, a Roadblock. They're in Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Never mind.
So she can use it then.
I'm not a sports guy. Sasha interrupts. Says she was all about Team Raw at Survivor Series, but now that that's done, she wants her title rematch with Sasha right here, right now. Charlotte teases the crowd with the match, says you're on, but then says not tonight. So the crowd boos, and Charlotte says Raw next week is where the Queen was born, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then she says, that's in America, you idiots.
You dumb Canadians.
She got tremendous... Oh, she could have meant Charlottetown. She got tremendous heat here.
It was very funny how when we had Jericho on, it was right after that Raw where he brought up, he was running down the United States and how Vince hates that stuff to get heat. And on this show, I mean, we got it from Charlotte, we got it from Arya Davari.
It worked great.
Yeah, it's fine.
Nia Jax comes out, and the crowd starts chanting, "You tapped out," which...
Oh, they were chanting other things, too, such as, Rusev sucks at Nia.
I shouldn't laugh. That's not funny. Nia says she's out here for Sasha. She calls Sasha an overrated purple-headed Barbie doll. And then just some god-awful scripted trash talking between Sasha and Nia that I didn't bother to note down.
I will show you how overrated I am.
Yeah, what does that mean? I guess.
I will repeat to you all of the words that I have learned today, and I will enunciate.
Yeah, I think Charlotte continues to totally outshine all of these other girls on the mic, and that includes Sasha. Certainly includes Nia, but includes Sasha as well, who I still think has yet to find the same comfort and confidence that Charlotte has. Anyway, Dana's egging the two of them on as they argue, and then Sasha decks Dana, and then Nia and Charlotte gang up on Sasha. Bayley comes out for the save, and we are back from break with a tag team match.
Yes.
Sasha and Bayley versus Charlotte and Nia. Nia and Charlotte dominate Bayley early on, and then a very awkward monkey flip from Bayley to Charlotte, leading to a lukewarm tag to Sasha. Bayley and Sasha double suplex Nia as a callback from the spot last night, where two of the SmackDown women were unsuccessful in double suplexing Nia. Sasha applies a bank statement to Charlotte, and the champion taps out.
Yes, she did, so that sets up the title match for next week.
Do you think they main event?
Yes, I do. I think that will.
think so too.
That should headline the show. Why not?
You have a title match this week, title match next week.
Yes, and that would be an example of kind of where the women's division has really progressed in the WWE. But that same progression, it hasn't hit everybody, which was evident in some of my listening during this particular match because there was a conversation going on behind me from some individuals, two guys who I guess one of them doesn't quite get Bayley yet, doesn't quite get it. So their conversation went something like this way, where the one guy says, "In
I'm glad you're noting all this.
Yes,
by the way.
this was my note taking. Okay, was the one guy who is the fan of Bayley saying, "Well, some people think Bayley is hot," and the guy responded like deadpan, "No one thinks Bayley is hot." And then the guy comes back, Well, maybe farm girl hot. And they continued to discuss what farm girl hot meant. That is a term I have never met. Then Nia got tagged in, and she was described by one of these gentlemen, this Blade Runner bitch. I was like, wow.
Oh, that's the commentary I wanted to hear.
This Blade Runner bitch.
Wow, the Blade Runner versus Farm Girl. Got it.
So nonetheless, there you go. That is your
women's revolution.
Yeah, in Toronto. So yes, Charlotte taps out.
What did they call her?
They seem to be fans of Charlotte.
Oh,
I
okay.
think they seem to be. Yes.
Cool.
Getting back to the actual match.
Yeah.
Is there any way they switch the title yet again on TV?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Bailey.
I really hope not.
Bailey seems to be the one in line for the big match, so I'd assume not.
Is Charlotte going to get a babyface reaction next week
I think so.
and
I
win?
think so. Yes. I mean, it might be some type of screw job finish, but I think she'll come out with a victory. She'll do her best probably to try to get booed, but I don't even think they should really fight it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's Ric Flair's daughter in Charlotte. Her name is Charlotte. Be like a girl named Toronto. You know what I
Losing?
mean?
Like
Yeah.
on Survivor Series where Sami Zayn was called by Michael Cole Toronto's own Sami Zayn. And he didn't get treated too well.
All right, we get a brief Rock and Sock connection.
This was like just the laziest
highlight
segue.
video. And at some point in between, I guess
This guy used to be here. Now he's got a movie.
at some point it morphed into an ad for Disney's Moana.
Yeah.
Which of course the
Starts
Rock,
with M, which so does Mick.
Could they not have had like maybe a fabulous Moana tie-in? I don't know. Anyway, The Rock is in this movie. The Rock really is like, he is maybe more popular now than he's ever been in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. He's done okay.
He's done pretty well.
He's done pretty good.
Yeah.
After the wrestling stuff.
So Cedric Alexander versus TJ Perkins versus Noam Dar.
Hey, you missed Charles interviewed Seth Rollins as well backstage. This
Oh,
is where
okay.
I noted the promo stuff. I mean, this guy's he's so excellent in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I feel once the promos reach there, like this guy, he's your franchise guy.
Yeah, Rollins.
For years to come. For the next 15 years, this guy could be a solid player.
I think he's very nearly
The promos
there.
aren't awful.
No.
But it's just, to me, it's he's so excellent at everything else. And I just want to see the promos reach that same level.
So up next, we got Cedric Alexander, TJ Perkins, and Noam Dar, and this is a three-way for a Cruiserweight title shot on the debut episode of 205 Live in 8 days. Brian Kendrick is on commentary, and Kendrick claims that 205 Live was a show specifically created for him. And Perkins, just some highlights here. It's really fast. Perkins here with a really cool Muda Lock, Northern Lights suplex combo. Swan attempts of jumping Frankensteiner onto Perkins, which doesn't quite connect. Perkins attempts a detonation kick, which is caught by Dar into an ankle lock. Swan breaks that up with a bunch of kicks. Swan pumps up for a standing 450, but it's countered by Perkins into a knee bar. Perkins applies a knee bar onto Noam Dar. Swan steps in and lands a splash onto Perkins to break that up. And then a roundhouse kick from Swan pins Perkins for the title shot. Again, I found not much heat at all for these guys. And the match, again, nothing that special.
No, but not awful either. And
No,
I feel it's really...
I'll tell you why it's nothing special, because I've seen these guys do special. I've seen them do special quite effortlessly in pretty much every match of that CWC. And it's just, that's the most shocking part to me, is that even in ring, they're not really delivering.
See, I thought Kalisto and Kendrick had a pretty good match at Survivor Series, but then an awful finish that just left everyone empty as a result of it. And, I mean, this Cruiserweight division, it's just... I don't know if this new show... I mean, that show, I'm sure it's going to be a very entertaining show.
Yeah, but think about the crowd, though. This is a crowd
Yeah.
at the end of SmackDown. I mean, the question is how many of those people will even stick around.
Imagine that 205 Live show next year when they're doing those 4 straight nights in some of these cities for pay-per-views and takeovers, that will be the final hour after 4 straight nights
It's really tough.
when they've seen everything in the world.
Anyway, so that was that. Noam Dar Rich Swann versus
Brian Kendrick.
Brian Kendrick in 8 days.
Do they flip the title to Swan on that first show? I could see them doing that to establish the show.
You can, but where do you go from there? You know, I think.
Where do we go from here? Period.
Yeah. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference either way. I also don't think this crowd necessarily is connected with Rich Swann. I think NXT Full Sail has, but I don't think the main
I saw a lot of grown men dancing when he came out.
Okay. Yeah, prove me wrong. We got Charlie Caruso with Kevin Owens backstage. Owens says he didn't expect to have this match tonight in Toronto, but he also didn't expect losing last night either. And he says he showed last night that he's the best champion in the world when he powerbombed AJ. He also says that he never got pinned, but Seth Rollins did, because Seth Rollins is a failure. Owens says Rollins failed Team Raw, and he failed him. And Owens says the reward Rollins got for joining Team Raw will also be the punishment he's going to receive for failing their team.
He also called her Renee at the beginning of the promo, and by the end, he goes to call her Renee again, and then does a double take. It was like, wait a minute, you're not Renee. Who are you? This was great.
Really good.
Charlie Caruso is the good butt of jokes for both Jericho and Owens in their promos tonight.
Yeah, I think he and Jericho are both on fire at the moment. We get a WWE Shop Black Friday segment with Enzo and Cass, where they point out
they were clothed.
They were wearing clothes.
And plugging clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, where was this? Where were all these clothes when Enzo needed them earlier?
They were $10 each on Shop Zone. But I think most notably, they pointed out a lot of items that I didn't even know existed, like a Bret Hart statue.
Who wouldn't want that?
A Seth Rollins ornament, Booty-O slippers, and an Enzo and Cass skateboard.
Could you imagine pulling up to school with an Enzo and Cass skateboard?
I don't know.
Couple of skaters.
Yes. It's one of those things I think your dad or mom would buy you if you really wanted a skateboard. And
I doubt it.
You'd be really...
Do you know what the shipping would be on a skateboard from that place?
I don't know.
Probably a lot.
Quick plug to Pro Wrestling Tees, who also have their Black Friday sale.
Do we have a lost skateboard?
We got to work on that.
Yeah.
20% off any order with the code Black Friday, and that includes some of these fine Lost shirts in the background, right?
Yes. You can also get our famous Lost shirt, which was a big hit at the Ring of Honor show, at least on the subway with one individual.
Yes, that's right. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, the main event for the WWE Universal Championship. Jericho and Reigns banned from ringside. Early on, Rollins pulls out a table, which Owens quickly throws back out and gets booed. During the break, we get a bunch of big spots, like Owens DDTing Rollins onto a chair. We get a table break during the commercial, so you probably got more of the match than we did. You know, more exciting moments.
This was like 25 minutes they got.
Owens punches and then starts mocking the crowd for their 10 chants. And Rollins attempts a frog splash, misses. Owens delivers a cannonball onto Rollins with the chair. They start brawling into the crowd, and both guys at this point are selling like they're completely exhausted. Owens attempts to flip Rollins up into a powerbomb, and Rollins latches onto the ringside barricade on sort of like the second level, and in fact climbs off and up into the entrance, basically where New Jack, Sabu,
the ledge.
All these Jeff Hardy, where these guys have done multiple dives. And we get a big dive from Seth Rollins onto Kevin Owens, which just looked awesome on camera. I'm sure it looked great for Sam, who was sitting right
he
next
almost
to
got killed.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins putting his name amongst other legends.
Thank you. Yes. Back in the ring, Rollins is about to jump off of the ringside barricade onto Owens when a fan dressed in a Sin Cara mask and a Shinsuke Nakamura
I
hoodie.
take it all back. This was the moment of the weekend.
And a Sin Cara mask and a Shinsuke Nakamura hoodie, which I know you're not a big fan of.
What, the hoodie?
Yeah.
This didn't look as bad as that shirt.
It's the same design.
It's kind of different. That shirt,
It's just a different color.
The new shirt of his is black with red font, and it's the what do you call the font way?
It's a Chinese restaurant font.
Okay, I didn't want to say that, and somehow it's misconstrued. But it's an awful shirt. This at least is a hoodie with like it's black and white, and anyway,
It's the same logo on the back.
it doesn't have the font though on
Yeah,
it.
it
Does
does.
it? Does it? Is that on the crest on the front?
On the bottom.
Oh, okay, I didn't see
the
that
back.
part. Anyway.
Anyway, so this this fan starts attacking
this was
Seth
so
Rollins.
funny.
Seth Rollins pulls the mask off, and of course, it is Chris Jericho. Rollins pulls him in, delivers a pedigree.
I thought it might have really been Sin Cara who had to buy a ticket to watch Raw now.
Oh, yeah. We know he's into those brawls, right? So Rollins delivers the pedigree onto Jericho on the floor, but Owens catches a distracted Rollins with a powerbomb on the apron, rolling him back into the ring for the victory.
This match was fantastic. This was awesome to watch live. These two worked at such a pace for 25 minutes. I don't know if this is going to be the Roadblock main event next month. It certainly seems to be building to a rematch because Jericho got involved and violated those rules, so you would think Rollins gets another shot. They set the bar so high. This was kind of weird to watch that they were getting chairs involved, tables, and yet it's SmackDown that's got the TLC pay-per-view a week from this Sunday.
Right.
And you got the sense they were building to their own kind of stipulation match here, but these two were just, this was fantastic to watch. Great main event. This is one of the best matches of the weekend.
And I think we really have to give him credit for, at this point into the week, still getting a crowd this excited and this reactive, coming off of hours upon hours of content. And I think we have to give him credit for delivering what I thought was 3 very solid shows.
Yeah, just
Survivor Series.
Watching Seth Rollins, this guy is maybe the best athlete in this company. And that covers a lot of ground because there's a lot of, but I mean, just bell to bell. What this guy does, how fluid he is. I would say it's him and AJ Styles. And I would say Seth is younger. And you just watch what he does. It's so incredible just how fluid he makes all of this stuff look. And Owens, too, just, they worked a really hard 25-minute match. They did quite a lot, way more than I thought they would in this match because it felt like the kind of match that was designed to build to a rematch in a few weeks, which we'll probably get. I would imagine this does headline the next pay-per-view with some stipulation attached.
Any dark matches?
No, Seth was helped to the back, and as his music was playing, that's when I left. Sam, did anything happen after? That was it. It was just Seth being taken to the back. No dark match could have followed this, though. Roman Reigns, no match on this show. He was just that one little run-in spot was his only involvement on this show. So, this Raw definitely had its moments. I think the big stuff, setting up Goldberg for the Rumble, I think that was great. That segment was great. The highlight reel segment was great, and this main event was great. So getting those 3 things on this one show, I think that alone were the key points to what is a very long show every week. And being there live, I did have that moment where I looked down and we were not even halfway through this show.
Reaching forward for the PVR, fast forward, but
there was no fast forward.
But I thought it was a very solid show and capped off 3 excellent offerings from the WWE.
There was not really a weeknight of these 3 straight shows in Toronto. I think each show had their purpose, and were largely very well received, I would say, throughout this past weekend. So that is going to wrap it up. Tremendous job, boy.
Thank you.
I could definitely get used to this.
I can.
Well, that is going to be all for us. We will be back on Friday with a new edition of Review-A-Way, one of the more regretful picks we have made in quite some time. We are going to chat about the 2004 Survivor Series. Why? We might find out that answer on Friday, but as of right now, we don't know. So tune into that on Friday at liveaudiowrestling.com. All of our regular shows will be up this week. What's next? We've got Bauer and Pollock, the MMA Report, and Sunday Night on the Law. Christian will join us for an extended chat, chatting about many different topics as well. So you can catch all of that, and we will speak with you next week right here on Review-A Raw.